To Brexit and the battle over it. UK House Speaker John Bercow blocked another vote on Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Brexit deal today. Let's go to London. Yahoo Finance's Oscar Williams-Grut has the latest. Oscars, anything else happened in the last hour? There have been a lot of late-breaking developments.
Well, Julie, the action for now, it has quietened down somewhat. The next big event is going to be tomorrow when we get a parliamentary debate and possibly a vote on this deal. As you said, Bercow blocked an attempt by the government to get a decisive yes or no deal today. But tomorrow, MPs will start debating it and will decide whether they want to approve this or not. But even then, it's not necessarily over. The MPs could add amendments which could scupper the deal. The government are calling two of the proposals on the table wrecking amendments. They regard adding a second referendum or keeping Britain within the customs union. Now, in the background to all this, the EU is considering whether to grant a Brexit extension. That's because the Saturday vote was blocked by MPs and Boris Johnson was humbled. He was forced to write to the EU asking for an extension, something that he has repeatedly said he does not want to do, as we can hear now.
All right, thanks so much.
Is to deliver Brexit on the 31st of October.
Can you make a promise today to the British public that you will not go back to Brussels and ask for another delay to Brexit?
Yes.
And sorry.
I can.
And would you
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
Now, Boris Johnson said he'd rather be dead in a ditch, but he has written to the EU, so he has broken that promise. But his deal is not quite dead. In fact, there is optimism that he may be able to get it through Parliament this week. The pound continues to trade near a 5-month high against both the euro and the dollar, and UK-specific stocks like banks and house builders have been jumping this morning despite the shenanigans in Parliament on Saturday. So the feeling here is that even though he is facing a lot of hurdles, that Boris may just be able to get this deal through by the end of the week.
All right, thanks so much, Oscar. Appreciate it. We're joined by the panel for this hour. Yahoo Finance's Brian Sozzi is still with us, and we're now joined by Sinan Oral, David Austin Professor of Management at MIT, founding partner at Manifest Capital, and author of The Hype Machine. Sinan, speaking of hype machines, I'd rather be dead in a ditch. Why do people not learn to not say things like this when they're trying to work through these thorny negotiations?
It's hard to know who's more disheveled. Is it Boris Johnson or is it this Brexit process? I mean, you could have seen this coming when the Brexit vote happened. I'm very curious to hear what the EU says in response to all of this. I sort of feel like EU lawmakers are sort of saying, get along with it, either get out or don't get out at this point. And we'll see what happens by Friday. But it certainly creates a bunch of uncertainty, which seems to be a theme of 2019.
Yeah.
Politicians creating uncertainty.
So we know there's been uncertainty for 3 years. Is there a case that perhaps everyone predicting calamity and the end of whatever has it wrong, that they do leave, even if they crash out, and the world goes on, they might be diminished, but the world goes on just fine?
Well, we haven't seen any indications yet that chaos will ensue. Companies are still investing in there. We've seen slow growth. We haven't seen negative growth across the board. But Sinan, I'm curious on your perspective of we will see chaos.
Well, I mean, I think that we are seeing chaos in the current context in a lot of places in the world. Businesses are not investing because we don't know what's coming next. And that lack of investment, that pullback in investment is creating a slowdown. You're seeing a slowdown globally. You're seeing China slow down a little bit. And I think that while the underlying fundamentals of the global economy are strong, there are a lot of ripples at the top which are created by uncertainty, a lot of which is being created by
the actions
politics.
by the ECB, can they offset any potential crash out?
Well, I mean, I think that it depends what the deal looks like, right? So depending on what the deal looks like, what the EU agrees to, what Britain agrees to, that's really the first step to understanding what any correction would be from the central bank. It's still really tough to tell.
Yeah, and it also feels like all of this is part of the remaking of the global order, right?
Bingo.
You know, questions about who is going to hold the power, the balance of power over the next 3 decades, right? All of that seems to be forming right now as a result of
Brexit is a backlash to the established global order, which is now shrinking. The vote in the United States. So if this world is changing, again, I come back to Why would it be so calamitous? Perhaps we're not seeing something.
Well, I mean, it's not clear whether it would be calamitous or not. There is certainly change, and so I think people who are ready to adapt are going to be the winners. And we'll see what the changes are. We'll see what the adaptations are. The uncertainty is the current mode of the day. That uncertainty is creating a lot of people, is making people sort of pull back, and that's the current state of affairs.
Yeah.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.